Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Joining us now to speak on his experience in the 2019 general election is former presidential candidate Dr. Kingsley Moghalu. Kingsley, welcome back from the field.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I read your article on the back page of This Day.
Okay.
Talking about your experience.
Yes.
It looks like you went through a baptism of fire.
Yes, indeed. And
What happened?
What happened? We tried to save Nigeria, and those we wanted to save decided that we want to thunder where we lay.
No, but you were very optimistic that you would defeat President Buhari.
You can defeat
Was
a
it?
candidate if the voters want you to defeat the candidate. It's a democracy, or we are trying to make it a democracy, right? So if the people of Nigeria, the outcome of the elections is nothing more than a reflection of where our society is at this point. It cannot be attributed to any effort or lack of effort of the candidates or a candidate such as myself, because I did everything I should do as a candidate.
Maybe you didn't buy enough votes?
Maybe I didn't buy enough votes.
So you did buy votes?
No, I didn't buy any. Enough votes means I didn't buy any votes.
Okay.
You know, so you see, you have to understand what happened. It's a very interesting thing. Nigerians, despite the opportunity for change that was presented, chose to remain with the status quo. It's their choice. So if you want to say what happened, I say to you, go and look in the mirror. Where did you vote? Did you vote for change, or did you vote for the status quo? Justifying yourself with one reason or the other. You could say, for example, there were many people who were supporters of my campaign, or people who were sympathetic, but they said to themselves, well, you know, we think that there is a general consensus that the president, for now, should remain from the northern part of the country. And that is why there are two leading presidential candidates, and they both happen to be from the north. You see, geopolitics, one of the lessons I learned in this is that geopolitics matters a lot, or geopolitical calculations matter a lot in Nigerian politics. So there was that general feeling that it's still, quote unquote, the turn of the north, right? Then, inside that, you now had two tendencies. Those who supported President Buhari felt that he deserves a second term. And many of them, in fact, I can tell you, even for sure, that even people inside the APC, even people who work in Aso Rock, would tell me, they will whisper to me,
They will vote for you in 2023.
but not now.
Well,
Then, so you have that group. Then, I didn't say I'm running in 2023, but they're already telling you. Do you understand what I'm saying? So then you had the group that wanted Buhari out. Then they would say to themselves, okay, who can take Buhari out? We love Kingsley Moghalu, we love the YPP, but we don't think they can do the job now. So we back the person we think we can do it. So they backed Atiku. Well, we saw how it all ended. The job wasn't done by the people they thought could do it. So you might as well have voted your conscience. It wasn't my votes that stopped Atiku from winning the presidency. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So these are some of the lessons, you know, and it's a very interesting experience. And what it shows is that as a society, we are not yet ready.
but you've also said that your votes were stolen, suppressed, and diverted.
No question.
What exactly did you mean by those?
Oh, listen, I was, you know, for example, my personal assistant comes from Yobe State. I went to about 30 states. I did not go to Yobe State in particular. I was not able to get to that particular state.
For campaign?
For campaigns, yeah? He was reporting to me from the collation. So in this state, you didn't campaign. I've seen the sheets. You have about 2,600 and something votes. What did INEC announce for YPP from Yobe State? About 63 votes. Just one, this is just one state. I'm not talking about what happened in so many other states. And I was getting reports like that. We voted for you, but where are our votes? We counted ourselves. We knew those who voted for YPP. But the results that are coming out of this collation center, or the results that are being announced for this state, simply don't add up. So even if all my votes were counted correctly, I would not have won the presidential election. Please, I want to be very, very clear.
Okay.
When I say that our votes were stolen, diverted, that's exactly what happened. It's not the same thing as saying, oh, I would have won. No, they're two different things.
Well, but let's talk about 2023. There is a clamor for the presidency going to the Southeast in 2023, and there are persons also saying, no, when it leaves one part of the North, we should go to another part of the North. The point you made earlier on about geopolitics being part of the calculations. But will you run in 2023?
It's too early for me to think or take that sort of decision. It is premature. I think after having gone through what one has gone through, without the kind of resources available to the political industrial complex that exists in Nigeria today, we all know that most presidential campaigns are funded largely or partially by state governors who control states and control resources. So when you have a candidate like myself who was serious, I ran to win. Do you see what I'm saying? I was serious. I wasn't playing. I wasn't joking. You know, so when you've gone through this, you have to reflect on what you've gone through and then reposition yourself for the future. So I cannot, at this point, you know, make a decision that, oh, I'm going to, you know, and there are many ways to contribute to development in this country, or even the evolution of the political process. It doesn't necessarily mean you must run for office.
And that brings me to my question.
But before you go there, I want to say that one of the things that I think, the two things I think we must focus more, rather than who will run in 2020 or who will not, is one, electoral reform. Okay. Two, voter education. So when I say we, I mean many people who think like me, friends, supporters, whatever. We are convening a non-partisan, it's not a partisan platform. I've decided to pretty much withdraw from partisan engagement at this time. The elections are over, the campaigns are over. So I will not at this time engage on a partisan basis. We're engaging on a non-partisan basis on a platform called To Build a Nation, TBAN. And that is to campaign for a citizens movement that will campaign for electoral reform and engage in voter education. Because those are the two things that this democracy needs if it is to survive.
Well, indeed. As it is conventional, the president will, dissolve his cabinet and appoint a new one for his next term. And my question to you is, if an appointment was extended to you, would you accept under the Buhari administration's next level?
I see this is the interview of speculative questions. Will you run in 2023? Will you accept this? These are all hypotheticals. If such an appointment is offered, then you make a decision. You reflect on it and make a decision on whether or not.
But you've just said that, you can make contributions not necessarily by running, but you also need to participate. So if you are given a position...
I'm giving you one example of how I'm participating. Sometimes people think you must
Can we be specific with this one? Would you accept?
It's a hypothetical question.
Okay.
Quickly, let me ask you two specific questions because we're running short of time. The first is the issue we discussed with Uche Oji.
Okay.
The assessment by the IMF saying that Nigeria is low in sovereign wealth fund utilization, and that there's a lot of lack of transparency, accountability, and that there's need for reform in terms of taxation, and taking a second look at tax incentives. I know you are the Nigerian rep on the board of the IMF, right? No. Okay. No. So, but just to take
the central bank was part of that representation.
One to look at that report by IMF, and secondly, your comment on Rwanda. They said the the ceremony going on currently in Rwanda. You did a book on that, right?
Yes, that was my
Yes.
first book, actually,
Yes.
Rwanda's Genocide.
Yes.
And I was the political desk officer for Rwanda
For
at the
Rwanda.
United Nations headquarters in New York
Yes.
during the genocide. And later on, I served in the UN War Crimes Tribunal for Rwanda. But let's come back to economics first before we go back to Rwanda. Now, I think that the issue about Nigeria, Uche is my friend, is my brother. Let me just be honest. And he is a fine gentleman, a very solid professional. So let's leave that aside. But Nigeria came to the Sovereign Wealth Party very late. And that's not Uche's fault. So yeah, it's just that, it just shows you the kind of leadership we have had in this country, that after so many decades of being a major oil producer, it took about 40 years for us to set up a sovereign wealth fund that many countries have set up. The Sovereign Wealth Fund of Norway today is about $1 trillion. So we have not, because we came late to the Sovereign Wealth Party, the price of oil had begun to collapse around that time. You know? So therefore, we have not had the opportunity for much accretion in the sovereign wealth fund so that it can be big like that of others. So we have a small sovereign wealth fund of about, I don't know what it is now,
$2.6 billion.
$2.6 billion. Yeah, that's very small. So, but in creating that sovereign wealth fund, they said it will be a savings fund, it will be a future generations fund, it will be an infrastructure fund as well, and a stabilization fund. So there were three functions that we are put into. By the way, the name, the Nigerian Sovereign Investment Authority, I coined it. Because when I was at the central bank and we were discussing, they wanted to name it the Nigerian Investment Authority. I said, no, you have to add sovereign. Otherwise, it will be confused with the Nigerian Intelligence Agency.
Okay, that's true. The
You see,
acronym.
yes, the acronym, yeah, all that. So anyway, but we discussed the framework in the central bank. We made our contributions and so on. So the Sovereign Wealth Fund, therefore, is an important potential tool for fiscal management and stabilization and support for infrastructure. Let me speak briefly about taxation. You see, because fiscal policy covers two things. Number one is revenues for the government. Number two is debt management. Nigeria is challenged on both fronts in a very, very fundamental way. I believe we should expand the tax base. I do not believe that at this time that we should increase the VAT. We can improve and expand the tax base to generate more revenues. And I see that the government is making a lot of efforts to have a comprehensive tax reform plan. And, good luck to them and good luck to all of us. I hope it works. But if I was asked what I could contribute to those types of discussions, sure, I have a couple of ideas about how we can raise far more taxes in this country to fund the infrastructure spending that we need to do far more. Just about 10% of our budget is on infrastructure spending. And we need to spend a lot more on infrastructure, and we don't need to borrow. I believe that Nigeria should put a moratorium on foreign borrowing. They will tell you about the GDP to, what do they call it? Yeah, GDP pack, all those things. No, it's about how much of your revenue is going to servicing your debt. And right now it's about over 60%. And the projections are that by the end of 2019, 2020, it could become much more. We could get to 70% of GDP revenue to GDP, the ratio between GDP and debt servicing. And that would be terrible. So I think Nigeria needs to put a brake on its foreign borrowing. I have been saying it and I've been consistent about it. So that's on the side of the economy. Now, concerning Rwanda and the genocide, I, as I've said, played a humble but significant role in the efforts of the international community to stop the genocide and to punish the architects of the genocide. Rwanda is one of about 3 or 4 African countries that are governed by a president who has a worldview. Only about 3 or 4 countries in this continent. A worldview, by which I mean global strategic intent. Do you understand? Purpose that comes from the stomach and is properly thought out long term. And this is how we'll pursue it systematically. Kagame is one of those leaders. The genocide And one of the ways you know a leadership that has a worldview is how they handle history. They commemorate the genocide in Rwanda. Do we commemorate the civil war in Nigeria? Have we any day that we mark the 2 million or more slaughtered Nigerians during the civil war? No. Our lives are treated as if they don't matter to us. But we attend the ceremonies of those who value their own lives. So the question about the genocide memorial is that it's, of course, appropriate to commemorate the genocide. 1 million people were killed, wiped out within 3 months by Hutu militias. It should be commemorated. The only thing that stopped it was Kagame's military victory, the victory of the Rwandan Patriotic Front, the RPF. In fact, it was so controversial inside Rwanda when some people challenged Kagame and said, was this war worth it? 1 million people dead. But Kagame's soldiers would respond, the only thing that stopped the genocide was our victory. So we knew some people had to die, but we needed to stop this genocide. We needed to take over the government of Rwanda from the genocidal government, and we needed to reposition Rwanda. And how many years now? Rwanda is making progress. 2 things. When I was running for president, I said that if I become president, I will set up a mobile telephone manufacturing plant in this country. You see, we are passengers in the vehicle of globalization. We need to become drivers.
Well, like Rwanda.
Like Rwanda. Rwanda is trying to become a driver because you must be part of the production value chain of globalization in order to benefit from it. And that's the kind of thinking and strategy that we still need to develop a lot more in economic
a lot of
management
lessons we can
in
learn
this country.
from
Yes.
Rwanda. Thank
Yes.
you very much,
Absolutely.
Kingsley Moghalu.
Absolutely.
And welcome back.
Thank you.
Unlike many politicians, you have a second address.
Exactly.
Some politicians are just professional politicians.
No, I'm not. I have other things. I'm going back to my life now. I'm going back
all
into,
the best
into
with,
consulting
with the
and things like
future.
that. Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.